Okay, so this is my entry to the game pitch. It's a game I'd like to call Eden. It's a story of a boy who's living in a really hard place to live in, a post-apocalyptic world, war-torn world. So it's survival of the fittest, and he wants to get a better life because he's alone. He lost his parents. As a younger kid, he heard stories about a place called Eden, where it's supposed to be all happiness, and that's where the story starts. Or at least that's what the story is about. Um, this is the intro to the game. It's a beautiful place, and this place actually is Eden. Only we, the players, don't know it yet. We see the boy with a unknown girl, whose identity will not be revealed in the game, or at least this game. And they are talking about life, what they've been through, where they want to go, what they want to become when they grow up. If we're gonna do this episodically, this would be part of the third episode. What I was thinking was, if we have a smaller game with the boy, and we tell the story of the boy and how he came to Eden, and then in the second part we would take on the role of the girl and then find out who she is, and she's been living in Eden, like a fantasy world, but that's for another game. And then the third episode would be a game with the two of them together. Also, every scene I will just stay quiet for a bit at the end, and then just let the images speak for itself, and maybe it gives some ideas for those watching. So okay, and this is the start of the game itself. It's a flashback, and we see the world where the boy was living, the world where he tried to survive. You see there's danger everywhere. Doesn't necessarily have to be like these kind of things like robots or whatever. It could be anything really. The whole world is destroyed. Buildings are destroyed. There's food is scarce. There's all kinds of dangers. Maybe even a few other people or robots, depending on what kind of character we're using, and they could also pose dangers, like we see in games like Last of Us or The Walking Dead. I don't really specifically have some kind of gameplay in my head yet. Could be a third-person action game or adventure game. Adventure game would be better, third-person adventure game, or maybe a 2D platformer. If we're gonna do a third-person adventure, this would probably be more stealthy and really try to evade all the enemies as much as possible, because they're too dangerous, and that's why the boy wants to go to a better place. So, and this is the start of the game. This is the middle part of the game, and this is his journey. from the place where he grew up and where he was living to this place called Eden. I chose this environment to just highlight that the journey would take him through maybe desolate places with a couple of enemies here and there. Dark, grim, moody. We see. I chose a T-Rex because it's a good. It's symbolic for the danger and how vulnerable he is in the world where he's traveling through. Would be cool if we even have like a big boss, like a mini boss that he needs to fight, or maybe he doesn't need to fight it, but if we're doing like a platformer, it would be cool if we have like a chase scene where you're being chased by a big monster and you have to jump through over all those all kinds of obstacles and dodge stuff and maybe fight a few little enemies here and there. Yeah, of course it would be cool to have smaller enemies like random encounters. I just didn't put them in the scene here, but that's still open. But this is just to highlight that there's a dangerous journey for him to go through, and that it's gonna be hard and tough. Okay, and this is the ending part of the game, the gameplay. And this is where he reaches a gigantic wall or mountain or maybe a cliff. That's the final obstacle to reach Eden. But before that he needs to do one big fight, and I hope the scene and the music conveys the desperation that he feels to reach the place. And this is the part where it's all or nothing. You know, there's no going back, and there's only death or survival, and there's nothing in between. And it would be cool if there would be like a big massive battle, or at least something where a lot of enemies swarm towards him, and he needs to figure out how to defeat them or get past them and reach the wall, because there's no going back anymore for him. So it would be cool if it would be really melodramatic and emotional part, and maybe for him to reach the point of almost dying and then just barely surviving. We could even add like a big ass boss. That's probably what most games do, what most gamers expect, so it would be cool. But that's up to all of you guys. And this would be the final scene, this final battle. And then we have the epilogue, and this is the end. It doesn't necessarily be have to be really long. He managed to get on the wall, and he gets a glimpse of Eden. That's the same place that we've seen at the introduction, and this is where the game cuts off. Like there's like an open ending, but we've already seen it, and we've seen that he's going to meet this girl, but it's not shown in the game, and that's to hopefully keep the player like longing for the next chapter. Let's call it chapters, next chapter. And if we're gonna do that, then it would be cool if chapter 2 would be a completely different game inside Eden. It's a magical world. It's like if you've seen Maleficent the movie, or maybe like the vibe that Trine has, and we could go something along those lines, like do something like a puzzle game like Trine, or maybe some kind of RPG, maybe even top down like Zelda, old school Zelda, or a more modern version like a linear RPG. And yeah, that's basically it for this game. This ending, and then to be continued. And that's it. I hope it's a bit clear. I hope it gives some ideas for what we're going to do. And yeah, let's figure this out. And peace.